It's the kind of moment that makes your heart race and your breath catch. Dexter, standing in the shadows, his eyes locked on someone we never thought he'd face again. Episode 7 wastes no time in throwing us into a scene that feels like the past clawing its way into the present. The air is thick with tension, every sound sharper, every movement deliberate. You can tell this is more than just another hunt. This is personal. It's the kind of opening that doesn't just grab your attention. It holds you hostage. Episode 6 left us with that chilling final frame, Dexter discovering a breadcrumb trail that led straight to a name he thought was buried forever. Episode 7 picks up in the dead of night, the rain falling hard, washing the streets in a slick shimmer. Dexter is on the move, blending into the city's pulse like a shadow no one notices. He's not hunting for random justice tonight. He's chasing a ghost, and every step he takes feels like it's dragging him deeper into a past he swore he'd left behind. The way he moves, calm, methodical, tells you he's thought through every angle. But there's something else in his eyes, a flicker of hesitation, almost like he's questioning if he's ready for what he might find. Inside his head, the dark passenger whispers reminders of unfinished business. We see quick flashes, faces, moments, memories, like a reel of everything Dexter's tried to bury. The sound design in this scene is haunting, layering the quiet thump of his footsteps with faint echoes from past seasons, little auditory cues that only longtime fans might catch. It's a reminder that this isn't just a new chapter, it's the accumulation of every choice. Every kill, every narrow escape that's led him here. The first major scene sets him in an abandoned building on the edge of the city. The place is rotting from the inside out, peeling paint, rusted metal, water dripping through cracks in the ceiling. It mirrors Dexter's own state of mind, weathered, damaged, but still standing. There's a broken desk in the middle of the room, and on it a box wrapped in plastic. He approaches cautiously, cuts the plastic open, and inside he finds something unsettling, a small collection of items, each connected to a victim from his past. This isn't just a box of trophies. It's bait. Someone wanted him to find it. The realization hits him like a punch. He's not in control of this hunt, he's being lured. The camera lingers on his face, catching the moment the hunter becomes the hunted. And in that moment you see it, the faintest twitch in his jaw, a sign of both anger and excitement. For Dexter, danger isn't just a threat, it's a thrill. He leaves the building, the rain soaking him to the bone, but his mind is already racing. Whoever is behind this knows his patterns, his code, maybe even his secrets. That thought doesn't scare him. If anything, it makes him more determined. As the episode moves forward, this first act sets the tone for everything that follows. It's not about random kills anymore, it's about a chess game where every move counts. And the opponent knows exactly how Dexter plays. The hook is simple yet deadly. Someone from the shadows is challenging him, and they're not afraid to use his past to do it. This isn't just another night in Dexter's world. It's the beginning of a trap that could either end his story or redefine it entirely. Asterisk, the rain hasn't let up, and neither has Dexter's focus. Section 2 of Episode 7 shifts gears from eerie discovery to tense investigation, and every beat is packed with quiet urgency. Dexter knows he can't storm into this headfirst. Whoever set this trap understands his habits and will be expecting predictable moves. So he starts with the only thing he can control, information. We follow him into his hidden workspace, a dimly lit corner of the city that only he knows about. On the table are scattered notes, old case files, and grainy photographs from years past. The items from the plastic-wrapped box are laid out in perfect order, each one a key to a different memory. A lock of hair, a charm bracelet, a faded photograph, with a corner burned, each connected to a kill, but none of these should still exist. The question gnaws at him. How did this person get them? He begins cross-referencing dates and victims, searching for patterns, but something about the timeline feels off. The items aren't just random pieces of his past, they're from moments where he came dangerously close to exposure. It's as if someone is reminding him of every time he nearly slipped, every time the mask almost cracked. That realization sends a chill through him because it means this isn't just about revenge. It's about dismantling his confidence. Meanwhile, Episode 7 brings in a parallel thread, a brief scene showing Angela Bishop in her office, going through old police records. She's still chasing answers about the strange disappearances that haunted her in the past. A new anonymous tip lands on her desk, pointing her toward evidence storage. The very place where Dexter's trophies should have been destroyed years ago. The writing plays with tension here. Angela doesn't yet realize that the trail she's following is about to collide with Dexter's, but the audience knows. And that knowledge adds a slow burn dread. Back in Dexter's world, his mind races through suspects. Could this be someone tied to an old case? A relative of one of his victims, or worse, someone from within law enforcement? His inner narration reveals his struggle between cold logic and a growing paranoia. The dark passenger urges him to take action to flush this person out quickly, but Dexter knows a reckless move could expose him completely. So he decides on something he's rarely done. He's going to set his own bait. The next scene is masterfully tense. He visits a local pawn shop under the guise of looking for vintage tools. The real reason? The shop is known as an information hub for the underbelly of the city. Dexter quietly spreads word about a certain private collection that might be for sale-coded language meant to lure the person who planted the box. This is Dexter flipping the game board, creating a trap inside the trap. But as he leaves the shop, there's a subtle shift. The camera catches someone watching him from across the street. We only see their silhouette, but it's enough to confirm that the hunter is closer than Dexter thinks. The pacing in this section is deliberate, building an atmosphere of cat and mouse without giving away too much. Every scene feels like a clue, every glance and pause loaded with double meaning. By the time we reach the end of this act, Dexter has planted the seeds for his counterattack, but the audience is left unsettled. The final shot of the section is a close-up of a burner phone buzzing on Dexter's table. He picks it up, presses it to his ear, and hears nothing but slow, deliberate breathing. No words, no demands, just the sound of someone letting him know they're there. It's not just a threat, it's an invitation. And Dexter, despite knowing the danger, can't help but accept. The silence on that burner phone doesn't fade from Dexter's mind. It echoes like a taunt, a reminder that he's being pulled into a game where he's not fully in control. Section 3 of Episode 7 sharpens that tension, turning it into a psychological duel. The next morning, Dexter moves through the city with calculated precision, blending into crowds while keeping his senses tuned to every movement around him. His eyes flick to reflective surfaces, shop windows, bus stops, even car mirrors, searching for the shadow that's been stalking him. He doesn't just want to find this person. He wants to understand how they think, because knowing that will tell him how they plan to end this. Instead of going straight for confrontation, Dexter begins collecting environmental data. He takes detours down alleys, steps into random buildings, and times how long it takes for that lingering presence to catch up. The cinematography mirrors his mindset, tight shots on his eyes, quick cuts between footsteps and glimpses of movement behind him, building a low-grade paranoia that feels almost contagious. Then, in a moment so subtle you might miss it, Dexter stops mid-step, realizing something crucial. The person following him isn't reckless. They're disciplined, staying just far enough to remain invisible. That's not amateur work, it's someone with training. This revelation pushes Dexter into deeper analysis. Back in his apartment, he lays out a city map and marks locations where he's felt that unseen gaze. The pattern forms a spiral, each point narrowing closer to his hidden workspace. Whoever this is, they're closing in not just on him, but on the part of his life he keeps most guarded. The thought tightens his chest, not from fear, but from the thrill of the challenge. For Dexter, the idea of being understood, truly understood, has always been a dangerous temptation. To gain the upper hand, he shifts strategy. Instead of avoiding the watcher, he decides to give them something to see. That night, he stages an apparent slip-up, walking openly into an old warehouse with a duffel bag that looks suspiciously heavy. He knows the observer won't resist following. Inside, the warehouse is dark except for a single hanging light, casting a small circle of illumination on the dusty floor. Dexter moves into it, deliberately slow, unpacking tools with the precision of a ritual. But this isn't a kill setup, it's bait. Every clink of metal, every careful placement is a performance meant to draw the predator closer. Minutes pass. Then a faint sound of foot brushing against debris echoes from the shadows. Dexter doesn't turn his head, but his eyes sharpen. He can feel the weight of another presence in the room. The silence stretches, and for a heartbeat it's unclear. Who will make the first move? But instead of stepping forward, the intruder leaves something on the floor at the edge of the light and retreats without a word. The sound of their steps fades, leaving Dexter with a choice: chase them now and risk losing the game's momentum, or see what they left behind. He chooses the latter. The object is a small, blood-stained envelope. Inside, there's a single photograph of Harrison. Dexter's hand tightens around the picture, the calm mask slipping for a fraction of a second. This is no longer a chess match about old kills and buried secrets. This is personal in a way Dexter can't ignore. The rules have changed, and his opponent has made it clear. The real target isn't him, it's the people he cares about. The section closes on Dexter staring at the photo, his reflection in the dim light making his eyes look almost predator-like. The dark passenger whispers in the back of his mind, not with temptation this time, but with urgency. End it now. That's when Dexter knows he's done being bait. The hunt starts tonight. Dexter doesn't waste a second. The photo of Harrison is still burning in his hand when he makes the first call, using a voice that's calm on the surface but clipped at the edges. He tells Harrison to switch locations and use the plan they never talk about, the emergency fallback he designed for a day he hoped would never come. It's simple, almost boring by design. Cash already hidden. A pre-packed bag, a route with crowded stops and cameras everywhere, so there's a public record of movement. Safety through noise. As soon as the line goes dead, Dexter turns to the other half of his plan, bait layered inside misdirection. He lets the stalker see what they want to see, while something else moves quietly out of frame. He checks the warehouse floor for fresh marks and finds them dry footprints on a wet night. Proof that the enemy came prepared and left too quickly to be careless. It tells him everything he needs to know. This person is not just bold. They're meticulous, the kind who rehearses. The kind who wants an audience. He chooses a battleground that doubles as a message. Not the usual plastic and plasticity, not a cliched room with drains and bright lights. He picks a place tied to memory, a derelict lab site from a closed city project, where the security cameras still blink, dead but blinking, a ghost of observation. The pipes groan at odd intervals like the building is breathing. It's the kind of forgotten corner where time gets thin and the past leaks through. On the way there, Dexter stages digital noise, a handful of false pings from burner phones, a rideshare ordered then canceled, a card swipe that isn't real. If the watcher is tracking him, they'll think he's moving in 5 directions at once. That's the point. He's buying just enough confusion to make them show their hand. When he steps into the lab, the air smells like metal and dust. He keeps the lights low, just enough to cast long shadows. He places 3 small items from the plastic box in a precise line on a steel table of charm bracelet. The scorched photo, a single plastic slide. It's a dare and a doorway. Minutes pass. Then the sound, a key turning softly, followed by the whisper of rubber solace. Dexter's body stills, his breathing shallow, his eyes tracking the shadows while his head stays perfectly still. The figure appears at the far end of the room wearing a simple mask, not theatrical, just practical. No voice, just that same deliberate presence from the warehouse. They move closer, pause at the items, and angle their head like they're admiring work in a museum. Dexter realizes this person isn't only trying to expose him. They're curating him. They've built an exhibit of his sins, and now they want the artist to explain the pieces. He speaks first, not with threats, but with questions that sound like statements. You copied evidence that should have been destroyed. You watched me long enough to learn the rhythm. You know the sun is leverage, but leverage that obvious is a mistake. The figure finally answers, and the voice is filtered, steady, cold. They talk about balance and debt, about the bodies that left empty rooms and the families who never slept the same again. Then they say the line that cuts through the room like wire: you don't get to disappear again. It's not vengeance for a single person, it's an indictment for many. A prosecutor without a courtroom, a cop without a badge, a survivor who became a hunter. Dexter closes the space inch by inch, keeping the conversation alive so his side plan can finish spooling out in the background, a timed breaker switch. A door magnet he loosened earlier, a silent alert sent to a nearby traffic cam that will confirm Harrison's train departure. When his phone buzzes once in his pocket with the coded vibration, he knows Harrison is clear of the first radius. The tension shifts, we can see it in Dexter's posture. The father steps back, the predator steps forward, the fight happens fast. An ugly, no clean choreography, just defensive grabs and blunt counters. Dexter never tries to dominate. He tries to control time. He wants 30 seconds to tip the room into his favor. When the breaker clicks and the lights snap to emergency mode, the red wash steals depth from the space and flattens everything. That's when the figure overextends, reaching for the slide on the table like it proves something. Dexter pivots, traps the wrist, and uses the weight of the table edge to pin. No killing blow, no plastic, not tonight. He needs answers more than a body. He pulls the mask, and the reveal lands with the kind of quiet that feels louder than any twist. It's not a familiar villain from older seasons, not a recycled ghost. It's someone we've only seen in flashes this season, a support tech who processed cold cases. A face in the background of Episode 2. A helpful voice who found a misfiled report in Episode 4. They've been next to the narrative the whole time, never in front of it, building a private case in the margins. The motivation is not simple revenge. It's faith shattered. They admired the clean lines of justice and then realized those lines were painted over blood. They built a map of Dexter's near misses and turned it into a mirror. Every item in the box was chosen not to prove he killed, but to prove he almost got caught, because almost is where obsession lives. This is the detail that lands hardest. They weren't hunting Dexter's body, they were hunting his certainty. Take that, and you take the man. The scene edges toward confession without ever using the word. Dexter reads the timing and knows the window is closing. Backup could be real or a bluff, but he can't stay. He binds hands with cable ties, calls in an anonymous tip that will send the wrong kind of uniforms to the wrong side of the building, and slips out through the maintenance hall he unlocked earlier. By the time sirens smear across the distance, he's already in the dark. Moving like water. The last movement of the episode is all aftermath and aftershock. Angela, following her own breadcrumb trail, arrives too late to make an arrest, but just in time to learn that evidence she trusted has been tainted by a vigilante operating inside the system. It leaves her with a choice that tastes like ash. Chase the ghost she thinks she recognizes, or chase the rot in the floor she's standing on. Dexter watches from a distance as the lab floods with flashlights. He checks his phone again. Harrison has cleared the second radius. A small human relief creases his face, there and gone. Then the camera catches a final twist, a second envelope, under his windshield wiper that wasn't there a minute ago. Inside is a printout, grainy, but clear enough to see his silhouette at the warehouse earlier that night. At the bottom, a message typed in neat, patient letters. You weren't the only one setting a trap. The episode ends on Dexter's eyes reflecting streetlight, not triumphant, not broken, sharpened. The dark passenger doesn't celebrate, it calculates. This wasn't a win. It was a warning. Someone else is out there, maybe connected to the first hunter, maybe a rival, maybe the silent financier behind the scenes. The game didn't end in that lab, it expanded. And that single idea turns the final seconds into a slow, deep chill. Dexter didn't escape a trap, he stepped into a larger one that's been quietly building around him all season. Asterisk.